Hi, welcome back to Chadwick Model Railway. I'm Charlie and this is my autumn update. Now I do 4 seasonal updates per year, and in those updates I go through what I've bought, what I've sold and other sort of bits and bobs that don't really fit into other videos. I hate to start with an apology, but my main camera is away with Canon for repair. It's 5 months old and it's had some issues, let's say. Anyway, so I'm back on the old Sony camera, so fingers crossed that this video comes out okay. Right. Purchases, what have I bought? Well, Margaret bought me for my birthday a lamp. Marvellous, just the job. I do like the old unfitted freight running lamps, which should have 2 of these, one either side and a white one in the middle. But this has red on one side and white on the other, so the driver will know if his train has broken away because he'll look back and see the white lights. So anyway, so that's a little ornament for me. Right, what else have I bought? Now this is a Dapol Class 22, and just like the real thing, it's totally unreliable. I don't know whether it's the pickups, the wheels or whatever, but the whole thing just doesn't make it around the layout. It's forever stopping. So what do? Well, it's a DCC fitted loco, so naturally I can fit a stay alive. There are complications because this one's already sound fitted, so the space inside is going to be limited. Of course, to overcome the running issues, we need a stay alive, and this is one I bought from Richard at Road and Rails, and it's from Trainomatic. It's very similar to the ESU one, but remarkably cheaper, let's say. Now, here we have an ESU Lock Sound version 5 decoder, and fortunately ESU have pre-soldered 3 wires onto the decoder for a stay alive, red, black and white. So naturally all I need to do then is to solder these 2 cables together and fit a little bit of heat shrink. No problem at all. But of course there's very little room in here, and of course having a earth mover speaker in here doesn't really help. So I've fitted the stay alive on the kind of shelf at the back end. But of course that has consequences because there's no room in the body for this to go. So it's a case now of having to hack to bits the bulkhead at one end of the loco, and as you can see I've taken the whole thing out, if you can sort of see the difference. So I've cut all that section out so it will fit. Just as an aside, the cab lights are on a socket which fits it on a plug which fits into this little socket here, so that's quite straightforward, and there are no clips there are no screws when you take this body shell off, it's just clips. So what am I going to do now? Well, I need to take these wires down, paint this the flat side of this. I think I'm going to paint it black with an acrylic paint so that when I put it back together, it's not too obvious. Obviously, with the cab lights, they operate independently, fortunately, and I just won't operate the cab light at the back of this loco because this is the number 1 end, and this is the end I will always run from. So this is the end that will always be coupled up to the train. Now, having painted the capacitor with black paint, after a trial fit you could see the wires. I've also now painted the wires with black paint so they shouldn't be visible through the side windows. So we've reassembled it and it's back on the track, and if I turn on the rear cab lights, all you can see is a sort of a reflection of the cab light in the black paint. So leaving the cab lights off, you can't really see the capacitor or the wiring at all. Lovely. Now if I start her up, and test the stay alive, you can see it stays on for a substantial amount of time. Just what I needed. So for a meagre outlay, with Richard from Road and Rails, I now have a loco that's fit for Chadwick, and hopefully you'll see more of it. A little word of caution though, there are CVs to change, and here you can see on Richard's site which ones need to be changed. It isn't difficult stuff, it really is quite straightforward. And just in case you haven't been following the channel lately, I also invested in a station building for Chadwick Parkway and also the Red Star parcels office next to it. Nice little additions. Now, a few days ago, Margaret and I were out bird watching, as we do quite regularly, and I came across a great big sort of band of lichen, and this is the stuff here. It's dried out a little bit and it's quite brittle, but as you can see by the expanse, there was no shortage of it, and I just looked down and spotted it, and it was like a sort of, I don't know, 10-15 metres of this stuff going on, and when you pluck it out with your fingers, the top's quite brittle, but the sort of the root area was quite soft, and it'd be hard to appreciate how brittle this is, but I'm sure that with a bit of paint this would make a great foundation for bushes. But let's not go around decimating our own woodlands, but the odd clump I'm sure wouldn't make much difference, and of course this is free. Now, as you probably know, there is a comment section, and if you leave a comment I will always do my utmost to reply. It may take me a day or two because of the volume of comments, but I always try to. Now, I received 2 comments the other day from opposing sides, let's say. I won't call their names out, I don't want any blame or anything, but there are 2 different views, and hopefully you'll find these amusing. Hi Charlie, good start. Are you ever going to build a model railway, or forever fanny about not building a model railway? I fully finished mine over 3 years ago, with over 250 plus model people. I had a bit of space on the station road, so I put in a Hogwarts triple-decker bus on it and made a Weasley's Ford Anglia to add to the scene. Rename it the Chadwick Never to Be Finished blog. How kind. Right, the next one. I hope you never finish your layout, Charlie. Your channel is my hobby Bible, for sure. I've learned so much stuff. Your delivery style is what makes you stand out. It's like enjoying a matey man chat at your local pub, talking about stuff that we love and our partners hate. E.g., I had a great chat about KD couplings with my mate Charlie tonight. There we go. What are your thoughts? Leave them in the comments section down below. Now, in the last video I mentioned about putting a gantry in here, and it's a twin gantry with 2 3-aspect signals, both with a left-hand feather, and the left-hand feather was to do with going into the board where the TMD is. Now, that was a poor explanation on my part, because 2 drivers, and I think they're both from the East Coast Main Line, were straight on the case to turn around and say, quite rightly so, Charlie, you can't go from a 3-aspect signal into a ground signal in a TMD. It doesn't happen that way. You have to go from a position light. He's right. But of course, what I failed to explain was, as you can see in this image, the right hand point branches off the top line to the TMD. The centre one then goes on to split, and the centre line goes on to the passenger side, which is the passenger line that goes into the reverse loop hidden behind the hillside. And then the lower siding will go into the fuel area. Marvellous. Now, of course, I didn't explain that properly, but they were both dead right, so I need to revise this gantry now. So here we can see the revised image from Tom from Absolute Aspects, which shows the gantry, the 2 3-aspect signals, both with a left-hand feather and both with a position light. So if a train is going into the let's call it the TMD board, but it's a passenger service to go straight through, you get the left-hand feather. If, however, the train is going either into the TMD or into the fuel area, then you get the position light, and then going onto the board there will be ground signals to denote which way that train will be routed. Hopefully I've got it right. And now moving on to what I've sold. Now, I know from a chap called Rob from Little Wicket that he thinks I have a very to our view on the future of our railways when we go to the great scrapyard in the sky. And I am focused that I don't, if I should I die before Margaret, I don't want to leave her a bag of rubbish to sort out. So stuff that I don't use, we all need to sell on. If you're not using these locos, then just get rid of them. If they're not your favourites, move them on. And to that end, I had a spasm on eBay a few weeks ago, and I moved on a load of camera gear and other bits and bobs, but also my Bachmann 4-berth engine shed, which has been on the railway for some time. It's in the opening sequence, you may see that. So I got rid of that, and it had a big crack in one of the pillars. I noticed it when I sorted the photos up, and I had to sort of highlight it. There we go. Also, I did a TT120 train set review, and I've no need to keep hold of that. So I sold that on, and it was in beautiful, perfect condition. You know, I just used for a YouTube video. And then finally, the other thing I sold on was Bachmann warship, good condition, lovely loco, but I had two of them, two Royal Oaks. I don't know why I ended up with two, but there we are. The one I've kept is TMC weathered, so that's the one to keep, and that's got sound fitted, so I sold this one on. Now I probably got £300 for those three things, but the point I'm trying to make, if you don't need it, just sell it. I've been involved with 3 railway modelers who have died, and to sort out a deceased estate isn't a bundle of laughs. If you don't use it, get rid of it, get the money, get it, reinvest it in your layout, and buy something you really do like. Now, I think it was back in May that I commissioned Steve Smith of Railway Laser Lines to build me a couple of canopies to go up on the branch line station. Well, you will be pleased to know that he's finished them at long last. But Steve is an exceptionally busy guy. They are nothing short of absolutely beautiful. They really are lovely. I am so pleased with these, Steve. You've done me a terrific service. So let's pop them in place and see what they look like. Now, this is the situation we've been in with the branch line station for probably 6 months. I didn't really want to progress it any further because I needed the canopies first to be able to put the lights in on the top, on the platform surfaces. But both of these boards, both this one and this main one, are still removable. So the idea now is to fit these canopies loosely into place, like kind of so. And now I can sort out the platform furniture and everything else. So the first thing to do is install the lights so that the lights will shine through the translucent panels on the top of the roof, and of course I can put the seating in and everything else. But of course we need this board off so I can get to it underneath to do the wiring for those lights. Obviously underneath here is Helix 1, and you can't do anything you can't do anything underneath this. One other thing is when these boards come off and they're sorted for the final time they go on, that's my last opportunity to clean the Helix properly, as in a deep clean. And I also need to lay bubble wrap inside the Helix should a disaster emerge, let's say. So that's what I need to do, get all these houses sorted. Some of these need painting up so it's not quite so uniform. All the station stuff, including the redundancy and of course the weathering of these two canopies. Now this is the main station, whereas this is kind of the goods area here. So this will be in more of a decline, let's say. Of course, there's absolutely loads of stuff to do. There's a signal box to sort out. I've recently acquired a water tower which needs to be made derelict from the days of steam, and also some markings on the platform where the water cranes used to be installed. Then moving back, we've got that sort of factory area to sort out, and this huge terrace of Victorian tenement buildings here, they all need gardens, they need fences. They need all the details and curtains and painting up. Of course, they need a fence for the road. Then the road needs a fence from the railway, and so on and so forth. And I also need a canopy to bridge the station building to the new canopies to make sure that we've got dry walking area. And then there's the front of the station with steps and parking and taxi areas and all this sort of stuff. And that's even before we consider the vast amount of work that's got to be done on the goods area. And then finally we come to this massive board here, where we have one more siding to install and a large hillside. And one thing that is worth mentioning is I still haven't figured out a name for this branch line station. So if you've got any good ideas, please leave them in the comments section down below. Now, you may recall a few weeks ago I was talking about the passenger shelters at Chadwick Parkway, and all I could come up with really was this kind of cheapy bus shelter, or this little Scenic shelter from Pico, I believe. But I'm in a fortunate situation really where, you know, manufacturers or whatever will reach out to you and say, Charlie, can I make you one? And that's exactly what happened. A gentleman by the name of Daniel from Stock Scenics 3D, we exchanged emails and a couple of PDFs and came up with this little design. And I must confess, it's smashing and very similar to that at Bristol Parkway. All I need to do is to put a sort of a bench seating affair in there and obviously spray it up. So what can I do with these? Well, these will naturally go on the station, set back from the platform edge, and will form that kind of look of Bristol Parkway. Now, Daniel's no fool. He sends me some stuff, but when I opened the box, it was actually, there was numerous items in there, obviously for a quick plug, and quite rightly so. Daniel, thank you very much indeed. And what I don't use here at Chadwick, I will obviously pass on to the West Cambridge Model Railway Society for us to use on our club layouts, and we're very appreciative of your generosity. And Daniel had included hay bales, beehives, greenhouses, runner beans, animal troughs, litter bins, vegetable plots, and even milk churns. And of course, if you're a dab hand with a paintbrush and you know your vegetables, you end up with some cracking results. And you'll find a link to Daniel's website and his Facebook page down in the Show More tab. Give it a click, there's some great stuff in there. And I've also tweaked the station announcements, and in the program Audacity that I've been through in a previous video, I've just put a slight delay in there so that it sounds like the sound is coming from two different speakers some distance apart. See what you think.
The train now arriving at platform 2 is the 1520 service to London Paddington. Calling at Heathrow, Reading and London Paddington. First class accommodation is at the front of the train, second class towards the rear. The 1520 service to London Paddington, now arriving on platform 2.
Now, one little addition I'd hoped to show you was the progress on this little Class 14 teddy bear shunter. However, sometimes life doesn't go the way you'd hoped. Because if you want to fit a sound decoder in here, you have to mill away part of the chassis. My friend Richard has got a milling machine. So it was milled out, reassembled, and we put the sound decoder in and it all appeared well, but we couldn't turn the lights off. They will not go off. So I've taken the decoder out and tested it. The decoder is all fine. So this little monster has a wiring issue, and what we think we've done is we've wired it up the wrong way around. But fortunately, at the auction I went to many moons ago, I actually bought two teddy bear shunters, so we can take this one apart and ruin this one. No, we'll take this one apart, and just to check that we've got the wiring right. This is a rare teddy bear shunter because it's got two sets of steps, one on either side, whereas this one here, I ripped one off and Richard ripped the other off. But there we go. Anyway, maybe in a week or two or a month or two, we could end up with this little baby working, having copied the wiring profile from this one into this one. No one's going to die. It's just a toy train. Well, now hopefully you're up to date on where I am with all things Chadwick. But of course, that's really about the past, and today is the last day of September. So what I hope to achieve in the next 3 months, which is obviously the whole of October, November and December, you know, because you need to sort of build yourself some kind of a schedule. Well, what I hope to achieve in the next 3 months is, starting in this area, is that embankment. I hope to get that embankment sorted out, and I will see World War Scenics up at the Great Electric Train Show and hopefully get some materials from them to finish that one off. Then of course I'll have the signals back from Tom at Absolute Aspects. I'll have the gantry to fit in here and the two ground signals to go in up there. Now there's the big one. From up there, for the end of those platforms, right around to the start of the viaduct, it needs to be ballast, and that is my next big job. Why? Because there are 6 points and a double slip, and I think we all appreciate how difficult it can be, you know, with all the glue and everything else, sorting out those areas, but it has to be done. I don't want to lose my focus and leave the old rubbish jobs, you know, till the end and they all pile up, so I must get that one done. I probably won't make a video of it because it's just not interesting enough really to keep your interest, but that has to be done. So once we're through this area, I'm then going to leave the front end of this station, just in case I have to do any leaning across and stuff, and move my focus then up to the branch line station, once of course you've come up with a reasonable name for it. So starting at the back with those Victorian tenement houses, to do the gardens, to do the pavement, to do the road, to do the fence, to do the station itself, get the lights into the platforms and work my way sort of coming forward on that board. Now fortunately I can do that board off of the main layout, so I can sort of get it on a table and work around it, but that has to be done. And of course I need to get underneath it to drill the lights and do that sort of bit of wiring. God, they're insurmountable. But of course in the background I need to maintain my loco fleet, and I think I counted 5 or 6 Westerns the other day. I don't need 5 or 6 Westerns, I probably need 3. So I need to get those out there into eBay and get rid of them. They're all good, they're good working stock, but you know, let's be perfectly honest, we don't want to be collectors of locomotives, we want to be runners of locomotives, because that's where the enjoyment is. So I'll pick out the best ones and sell the rest. And the same as I did with my warships, knowing that Helgen are going to bring out a new warship, and then hopefully Cavalex have got a new 47 coming, can't wait. So I'll probably move on my Bachmann or maybe the odd Helgen 47 and put some new life into my 47 fleet. Marvellous. I'm exhausted. Hope I'll see you at Getz in 2 weeks' time, and if you do see me, come along, say hello. I'm always up for a chat and to find out what your interests are. You know what mine are. You know, I'm a kind of Western 1970 kind of bloke really, but there we are. So if you've enjoyed the video, stick with the channel, give us a thumbs up. Please don't forget to subscribe. Subscribing is free. There's the old patrons button if you want to become one, and there's a video here, and I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Thanks a lot, take care, bye bye.